Daytime with Aston Avery. Stephen Smith joins me right now, and he's going to give us some tips and advice on how our hair looks good for a wedding. So, Stephen, we're going to be discussing about tips and tricks on the hairstyles here.
I'm going to kick off with, though, I think it's kind of important this to mention this because people might miss it. There's an incredible exhibition of a Queen, of artists who have created portraits of the Queen and sculptures going on in London at the Qantas Gallery. And sculptress Francie Siegelman, who's done Joan Collins, David Everidge.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful sculpture of the Queen, and it's on for the next month. And there's lots of other artists there as well. Well worth going to see. It's just to get the tube to Liverpool Street. It's not too far a walk down towards Brick Lane. Fantastic to go see that. And also, I was lucky enough this week to go with my great friend Denise, invited me to the Teenage Cancer Charity, where they did a concert of Moulin Rouge, or the show Moulin Rouge. If you haven't seen Moulin Rouge, I can't tell you how good it is. It is explosive and really well worth going to see. And Baz Luhrmann was actually there on the night, part of the trying to raise funds for the charity. It was incredible. Really worth going to see.
It's brilliant that they do charity performances, the productions, it has to be said here, Stephen. But speaking of, we've talked about events. Now we're going to talk about hairstyles for wedding days, etc. So, Stephen, as we know from a book, it shouldn't happen to a hairdresser here. You know a lot about hairstyles here. So
I've done so much hair for weddings, and it's, I was lucky enough to do the beautiful Emma Noble's hair for her before I sort of gave up hairdressing. And oh God, she was a beautiful bride, and she looked so good because it looked like Emma Noble. She looked stunning. It was kept very, very simple. Elizabeth Emmanuel did the dress, again incredible. Again, not so complex that it didn't look like Emma, and it showed off her beautiful figure. And that's what I always say to people when they come to me. Often they start off with these elaborate hairdos for a wedding.
Oh, they do indeed. And for hair advice here, Stephen, what are the do's for having a good hair wise for a wedding here, and also the don'ts here? So would you like to explain the do's first?
The do's are, you have to look at a picture, hopefully, of you and your partner 10 years time, and you may have had children, and you want to look back and recognize yourself. So it's a nice idea sometimes when you're going out to play fancy dress up and putting hair pieces in and extensions and everything, but if that's not how you're going to look in 10 years time, don't go for it. Also, it's very hard work to look after for the whole day. I think you had me say earlier, often you want in the evening to change into something more comfortable, maybe let your hair, if you had your hair up, let it down, and let it just put your fingers through it and it turn into a nice soft do. So, number one, keep it simple. Obviously, it's a very windy day. You need spray or something, etc. But Bobby, keep it simple as possible.
Keep it simple. And what about the don'ts?
The big don'ts are, don't go and do a hairdo that he's not going to recognize. I can't tell you the number of arguments. You think it's great. You've turned up looking like you've spent 5 hours in the hairdressers. He just liked you as you were, a nice, soft and feminine do or whatever. Just go for something very simple. Same with a guy. Don't have a drastic haircut 2 days beforehand.
So interesting, really. And obviously, getting a haircut, it's obviously, if you want a haircut, they've got to do it well before, I say, as well.
Have a new look, have it 4 months beforehand or something. It's the same for the bride. If the husband turns up with a brand new hairdo they weren't expecting, doesn't start the wedding off well. Avoid anything like hair colouring. Have that done well beforehand. I think Shay was talking about fake tan. It's the same with any kind of hairdo. Have it all ready and done with. So on the day, you just turn up with a nice soft blow dry, put off softly, and you can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong indeed, and especially as well if it's like a winter wedding as well. As Heidi said, one of her weddings was a winter one as well, and that's one of the things you can have as well is obviously hair protections and all that, I suppose, in places.
Also, guests, check out what the bride's doing. There's nothing worse than turning up or better looking than the groom or the bride. It's their day, so don't go and have an elaborate hairdo if they're not having an elaborate hairdo. You know, it's really kind of polite and etiquette to check what they're doing.
Exactly. So, Stephen, obviously, what a great show we've had today as well, I have to be said here.
Really enjoyable. Really enjoyable.
And it's great that you shared some hair advice for our listeners as well about weddings, even if they're getting married or even guests as well. So that's great to share some tips on that.
Go get a tryout at the hairdressers, and try out what you're having done. You can go 3 or 4 times, you know, I know it's a bit costly, but, you know, there's no harm keep trying out, Aston, if you're going to have your hair done for the big day. Well, Aston, lovely. It was lovely seeing you as always.
Lovely to see you. But first off, Stephen, before you go, how can our listeners find out more about you?
Find my column in Bouz Magazine, BOUZ, and Outnews Global. I have a Ask Steve to See blog, and I'm starting a new show quite soon, Aston, on Men's Radio.
Oh,
so we'll have you on as a guest. No,
who knows? So, Stephen, pleasure to have you on today, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.